Good Monday makers. In this week's episode, we're looking at an industrial foot guard, a garden enclosure, a temporary structure, a hingeable lid for a stock tank, a chicken partition, and a really cool hack for making adjustable legs in a build. Let's jump in and check them out. First up is the industrial foot guard from Gene. We can see here they've got some tanks that kind of sit below the main walking level by a couple of feet, and they just wanted to create some kind of guard rails that kind of keep people from stepping incorrectly in this gap here. So what they did was they used just a few connectors, looks like flange connectors secured to the main level here, and that allowed them to create vertical pipes that they could then connect the main railing to. And it looks like they used T connectors connected to the vertical to attach the pipes that kind of go around, and it looks like they bent the conduit to match the kind of shape of the paneling here that goes all the way around. And they just did that same design going all the way around until they got back to the other side, and they used T connectors, 180-degree connectors to attach to the vertical pipes. So really simple design, but a really effective way to create a foot guard. That's awesome, Gene. Thanks so much for sharing. We really appreciate it. Next up is a garden enclosure from Peter. He said him and his wife have blueberry bushes, and they originally created a smaller enclosure, but over 3 years, the bushes have gotten bigger, and so now they're doing a rebuild, or they've done a rebuild, and it looks really awesome. So they started off by doing a mini model of the design to get a connector list and a plan for the build, and we can see from that it looks very similar, if not exactly like their finished enclosure. So if we can see here, there's a lot of different connectors, and for a better visual representation, we can see how the connectors are on here. They use 90-degree connectors in the corners, kind of create the rectangle shape, and then they used a series of T connectors here to kind of create the gate itself, and then some bracing and kind of splitting up the run with 180-degree connectors here. So if you're wanting to create something similar, I'd recommend checking out that mini model. It's a little bit easier to kind of see all the connectors that were used and things. But we can see that this is the finished build, and it looks really awesome. And there's some really cool hacks in here that they did for creating a gate that I want to highlight, because it's a really common thing for people making enclosures is people ask on how to do the hinge itself and then how to latch it, because what's the point of having an enclosure if you can't get inside and then kind of access the plants. And then also, if you have a hinge there, you want to have a latch so the animals can't figure out how to open the gate. So the way they did it was really simple. They got some inexpensive hinges, just like cabinet hinges, and they just secured them to the conduit frame and the gate here using self-tapping screws that just go through the mounting holes and straight into the conduit. And it looks to be doing a really good job. It looks like there's 6 total mounting holes, but they only use 4, which is fine. Looks like it's holding up great. And then for the latch, they used another common piece of hardware that you can get locally at Home Depot or Lowe's, and it's just a gate latch made for wood. And what they did is they kind of ran a piece of wood. They actually did it along the whole bottom of the frame here, but they also did it from side to side on the gate itself. What this allowed them to do is add a grab handle for opening the gate and then also securing this gate latch. So we can see here the main kind of pin here that actually latches is attached to this board. And then the gate latch itself is secured to the conduit frame, again using self-tapping screws. And then also they used a one-hole strap that just kind of snaps on here, wraps around the conduit, and then they're using the hole in the one-hole strap and the mounting hole on the latch here, and probably used a nut or bolt to kind of secure the latch to the one-hole strap, which is a really clever way to use this style of gate latch with conduit. So that's really awesome. Thanks so much, Peter, for sharing that. Really cool. Really cool hacks. And then for the actual enclosure, we can see that they used, again, the wood paneling around the bottom half. And then they said they use lattice to keep out, rabbits and small animals. And at the top, they just use some standard bird netting and put some Mardi Gras beads hanging from the pipes to kind of have something reflective to keep the birds from flying into the netting and getting hurt. And here we can see they have a material list if you want to see exactly what they used. And also, again, I'd refer to the mini model if you want to create the same design. That's a really great enclosure from Peter and his wife. Thanks so much, guys, for sharing that. Really awesome to see. Next up is a temporary structure from Haven. He said he was working on a wooden boat build last August in his friend's garage. He said he got most of the construction done and then moved it to his house. He didn't have a garage, so he wanted to create kind of a sheltered area that he could do the varnish and painting in. And after looking at some car canopies that you can buy already put together or kind of pre-designed, that it was going to take up too much space. He was trying to keep this structure as small as possible in their driveway. So what he did was he created it with conduit and maker pipe. And it's a really great design. It looks like he used all 3/4 inch EMT conduit. And we can see that there's 90-degree connectors in the corners. And then there's a 7-foot pipe, I would assume, because I think he said it's 14 foot long. I think there's a 7-foot pipe that runs from the side here to the middle and then connected with a 180-degree connector, which allows a vertical support pipe. And he did that design. It's kind of mirrored on the other side as well. And then for the roof, it looks like there's T connectors creating kind of an angled pipe that goes up, and then it's connected to 135-degree connectors in the middle to kind of create the pitched roof. And we can see here it has a nice angle to it. And then he just used some tarps secured to the frame to create the kind of the roof and the siding. And the panels, he said, are connected on the sides, and they have 1-inch PVC attached. So as you can see here, they can be rolled up and down. So he just secured the PVC, I think using zip ties, attached them to the grommets. And then he's using ball bungees to kind of hold the pipes up, or the PVC and tarp up. And then whenever he's ready to kind of drop the sides, he can just undo these ball bungees and roll down the side panels. That's a really smart way to do it. Here we can see the panels are kind of in the down position, and there's the 1-inch PVC that's connected to the bottom. Really smart design for a temporary structure. And he said once he finishes the boat and gets it all painted and ready to go, he's going to take this apart and then use it for another build. He's going to reuse all the connectors and the conduit for another idea that he has. So that's really cool. A great project from Haven. Thanks so much for sharing that in the community. Next up is actually a couple of builds from Anne. She said that they're raising chickens, and there's a couple of common problems that she wanted to solve. First, when the chicks are young, they keep them in a stock tank in their bathroom floor. And she wanted a way to easily access the chicks and also clean inside. So what they did was create this really simple hinged lid here. It's actually 2 panels that allows her to easily reach inside and, get the chicks and clean up. And she did some really clever stuff to make these. And we can see here that she bent conduit kind of all the way around into a half circle. And then she just used 2 T connectors to kind of create this vertical post that connects to the half circle here. And that's really simple. And then she secured some kind of enclosure material, looks like chicken wire, to the pipes using zip ties. And then to create the hinges, said she got some of these straps that she found locally at Lowe's or Home Depot. And those are just secured to the frame. So they were just doing it really quick. They just threw some duct tape on there, and it's working just fine. And then it looks like she secured those clips to the stock tank. I think I can see like a bolt head or a screw there, maybe some self-tapping screws through the stock tank. Those allow the lids to actually hinge really easily so they can access. And it's a really smart way to do that, and a really kind of unique solution to that challenge they were trying to solve. And then once the chicks are old enough, it's time to move them outside to be with the rest of the flock. And she said it's a good idea when introducing new chicks to the rest of the older chickens, that it's a good idea to kind of keep them together but separated so they can get used to each other. And they wanted to solve this problem by creating a partition system. So we can see they've got a large chicken enclosure made out of wood, and there's a big chicken coop here. And this is for the older chickens, as we can see here. But then they created 4x6 panels using conduit and maker pipe to kind of create a little partition system, as you can see, that kind of just keeps a little section of the main enclosure for these new chicks. And they can still be together, get used to each other, but they're not, just moving around together, and they're not all loose together in there. And she said that they created some 4x6 panels. I think she said it's 2 or 3 panels that she made, and 2 of them are the same design, just normal panels, and then one of them has a gate incorporated into it so she can easily move between the main enclosure and then this smaller area she needs to access the chickens. And they made this so it could be easily removable. They use zip ties mostly to secure the chicken wire to the framework, and also zip ties to kind of attach the panels to each other and then to the main enclosure. So it's a really clever way kind of create this partition, and it's a good way to prevent foul play between the 2 chickens. That's bad. But it's a really good build and a really awesome project, and a couple of problems that they were able to solve with conduit and maker pipe. Really cool to see. Thanks so much, Anne, for sharing your builds. Next up is a really clever hack from Christopher, or Code Optimist, on Instagram. And this is for creating a telescoping leg using a few different materials. So basically what this is, and there's a complete write-up here of how to do it, and I'll include that in the description if you want to check it out and see exactly how Christopher did it. But I'll do a brief explanation. So basically this is a piece of 3/4 inch EMT conduit, and you'll cut this to whatever size that you want the collapsed leg to be. And there's some dimensions that you want to keep in mind, which again he mentioned here. But then basically there's 1/2 inch EMT sleeved inside of this 3/4 inch conduit. And he did that using 5/8 inch irrigation tubing. And he just basically used a knife to add a slit all the way down of that tubing. And this allowed him to kind of easily shim the 3/4 inch down to the 1/2 inch. And then he's using some of these spring clips. You commonly see these for tent poles and things like that, and you basically just compress them, and they have spring steel, and they allow you to kind of push them in and collapse things. And that's how he used them here. So he's got these tent pole clips, or these spring clips here, in this channel between the two edges of the shim, and he's able to push those in and then collapse the 1/2 inch and basically slide it inside of the 3/4 inch leg here. It's a super clever way to do this, and he said it's really strong, and he's using it. He just added a threaded pipe insert with a thread to kind of attach it to his bed here. And really great hack. And again, I'll link this down in the description if you want to see exactly how to do it and follow his instructions. And we really appreciate him doing this write up and sharing this hack because it's really awesome. And just like Christopher's hack, I'll link all of the builds and projects down in the description if you want to check them out for more detail. We really appreciate everybody sharing their projects with us across Instagram, Facebook, and in the community and other places. We love doing these episodes and seeing all the clever things that you guys are doing with Conduit and MakerPipe. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you in the next video.